So hello everybody, welcome back to another wonderful episode of Multipurpose with Lakshit. So I have Chirag joining again. So Chirag is Illusionist, a mentalist, and then he has represented India at FISM or Germany, performed for various kind of Bollywood celebrities like Varun Dhawan, Son Kapoor, and Shilpa Shetty, and many more. So yeah, thank you very much, Chirag, for joining in. It's my pleasure to have you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Lakshit.
Yeah, so first question to you is if you can speak about yourself and what you do, that would be amazing.
Hi everyone. My name's Chirag. I have been an illusionist and a mentalist for the past 10 years now. This is what I do full time. I'm performing in corporates, weddings, and privates. Right now, I'm doing a lot of Zoom shows. I'm trying to entertain and amaze people from wherever they are all over the world through their screens
Okay.
by performing magic and reading their minds. So that's what I'm doing at the moment.
Okay, and yeah, the first question about you is like, what was the reason you being a magician? Like, how did you get being an illusion? How did you get into magic? And what is the story behind studying magic?
So like most of us do, we notice when we're growing up, we gravitate towards certain things, and certain things make us feel that we should just be doing these things because they are so much fun and we enjoy doing them, and people around us like it too. That could be anything. That could be painting. It could be just about anything. In fact, it could be cooking. It could be uh, any form of art, any form of expression. It could be playing sports. It could be anything. So for me, when I got done with school, I picked up the art of magic as a hobby. I had a lot of books to learn from, a lot of sources of YouTube videos and stuff that I used to learn tricks from.
Yeah.
And I performed it to friends and family, and they were quite encouraging to me. And after a point, I realized that this is fun. Like, it's a great hobby. It's a great way to meet people, increase your confidence. And it was fun. But there was no professional inclination to it. After a point, I realized, well, I like doing it, but you get into the grind of college and studies and all that, and I dropped off as a hobby completely. I was never in it from a competitive standpoint. Actually, I'm not even super competitive right now, but so I dropped off at that time. Now, fast forward to a few years, say by few, I mean like 7 or 8 years later, I am at this club and I meet this guy who, with a few friends, we're sitting at a table, and this guy walks up to us and he starts performing for us. And there's something about the human emotion of seeing somebody who does what you like to do.
Yeah.
If he does the same thing, you kind of, there's a very negative space. Like, you kind of compare yourself and you feel bad. And so I tried to be positive, and I went home and I pulled out my old decks of cards and coins and I started practicing just like that. It was a scary thought to be able to perform professionally, but I was working and I figured there was nothing to lose, really.
Yeah.
So on weekends, I used to practice a lot. I used to perform for just about anyone,
Okay.
from people who serve us to security guards. I would start building my own audience just so that I could get a little more rehearsed in the way I perform, even if that meant like tiny touches here and there. And then I approached the same place this person performed at, knowing that that's wrong. I still did it because I didn't know. I had the beginner mindset, and yeah, that's when I started performing, and I realized the first 2 or 3 tables that I performed for, because there are two kinds of magic. One is close up, one is stage. The first couple of tables that I performed for, I was shaking. Like, I dropped some cards down. I was shitting my pants, basically.
Yeah.
Pardon my language. But with time, it got better. The reaction started coming in, and you feel like a superhero when you're really pursuing your dreams or pursuing something that you really want to do.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I got started on it, and since then it's been great till today.
Okay. And okay, yeah, yes, you mentioned. And what is the how has been working as in doing magic, and how has the what do you say that the response of people, what they find unique in your magic, like how would you if you can speak about your uniqueness and what you are different in.
In fact, I don't want to speak about it as much as I do want to show you something. Can you see
Okay.
what this is right now?
Yeah.
Please tell our viewers what this is so that they can also
It's a
know
Rubik's
what
cube.
this is. It's a Rubik's Cube,
Yeah.
yes. For those of you that are going to be listening. So you can see this is pretty mixed up right now, right?
Yeah.
I'm going to mix it up some more and I want you to say stop whenever you want.
Okay. Stop.
There?
Yeah.
There, right there? Okay, perfect. I'm going to stop right there. Okay, I want you to see this. Now, every side, single side on the cube is mixed up, right?
Yeah.
Here's what I'll do. I'll just take the cube, we leave it there. Now, here's the thing. This represents chaos because it's all mixed up, right?
Yeah.
It represents chaos in a big way. Now, there's so many different sides of the cube, and this is the situation we're in because we're in the middle of a virus. Now, hopefully, by the time some of your listeners will hear this, we will be out of that.
Yeah.
But we're in the middle of chaos, and we like order usually. So, well, here, this is for you. Can you see this?
Yeah.
Does it start to look a little better, right?
Yeah.
If this side starts to look good, even this side should look good. Can
Yeah.
you see this?
Yeah.
And hopefully, before you know it, this is what we're looking to get to.
Wonderful.
What just happened right now to those of them that are listening? The cube solved itself. There
Yeah.
more like that.
Yeah.
So the kind of stuff that I do is more reliant on trying to make people do magic rather than me doing magic, because that's the standard perception of magician or mentalist, is that they will perform magic for you and you
Yeah.
just sit and watch.
Yeah.
I kind of be driven to get magic to happen in people's hands or people creating but not necessarily knowing how, because that's how magic works. If you know,
Yeah.
there's no point. So yeah, I mean, so that's been my calling, and that's been something that I want to do. And I think for anybody really setting out into achieving what they want to, whether that's a business or anything artistic as well, I think you should just ask yourself, like, how can this serve people? How can this help people? Not necessarily you. It's not necessary for you to always want to help people,
Okay.
but sometimes I think it's interesting that you look at life with that point of view. Like, how can this make a difference? And sometimes that is basically picking up scripts, writing down your material with the point of view of inspiring someone or influencing someone.
Yeah.
Or sometimes it's just inspiring yourself to do something. So it's a little bit of both. But I'm rather a soulful, I look at it from a soulful perspective rather than only an artistic perspective.
Okay.
But that's just me. There are different things that work for different people.
Yeah. And you also mentioned that you're a mentalist. What does mentalist? What does, like, what is mentalist? Meaning of mentalist, and what does it has to do
So
with?
mentalist is, yeah.
Yeah, you can
You were
continue.
saying, sorry.
You can continue. No problem.
Okay. So a mentalist is somebody who uses his five senses, sight, sound, smell, touch, taste, to create an illusion of a sixth sense.
Okay.
So it's basically looking for answers within what we know to create something that other people will not know, and hopefully we can surprise them. Now, at its core, mentalism is reading minds.
Yeah.
But when you add other layers, like trying to figure out what somebody will think of before they even have thought of anything. For example, I want you to see this. I have a matchbox over here. Can you see this matchbox?
Yeah.
Yeah. Now there is something inside this matchbox I will not tell you, but what I will tell you is that it's a playing card. It's a playing card. Okay. Now, Lakshit, I'm going to give you the opportunity to do this.
Okay.
You're going to be the star of my show right now.
Okay.
And if you like this, I want you to react, because the people listening to you will not be able to make sure something has happened until Lakshit reacts.
Okay.
Because I can't react. That looks cool. Okay. I do this on a daily basis. So we'll do this. I want you to do this. It's a playing card. It's a playing card inside this. Okay. You're going to burn an entire deck of cards right now, because this is a matchbox. You're going to burn a deck of cards in your mind.
Okay.
Okay, so light a match in your mind and tell me when you've done that. Done?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, do you want to burn the numbers or do you want to burn the pictures?
I want to. I should tell you what I want to burn. Should I tell that?
Yeah, yeah. Tell me.
The image, the picture.
The pictures. Okay.
Yeah.
So there are two different kinds of picture cards. There's men, there's jacks and kings, and then there's women.
Okay.
It's a ridiculous question, Lakshit, but do you want to burn the men or do you want to burn the women?
I don't know. Like men.
Put you on the spot, didn't I? Okay, cool. So you're burning the men. You're sick. Thank you so much. So the men are gone right now. We just have four cards left. Four queens, rather. The queen of clubs, queen of hearts, queen of spades, the queen of diamonds.
Yeah.
Now you get to save one of these queens. Which one will you save?
Queen of diamond.
Queen of diamonds, you sure?
Yeah.
Okay, I want you to see this. Inside this matchbox, can you see this? There's a playing card over here.
Yes, I can. Yeah.
You can actually see this, right?
Yes.
And you could have saved any one. You save the queen of diamonds. You just get that clip off from there. Whoops, sorry. But you save the queen of diamonds, right?
Yeah.
This is the queen
Oh
of
yeah.
diamonds, the card.
So wonderful. Okay. Yeah. Queen of diamonds. Wonderful. Yeah. Yes, I can see that.
Queen of diamonds. So
Okay.
yeah, that's something on what mentalism is about. I mean, you could have really gone for any card. You could have chosen to think of anything. But what we try and do is we try and really understand people. It's more about empathy and it's more about understanding how people think in different situations so we can speak to them and communicate with them most effectively. I think at its core, that's what mentalism is also. It's about understanding.
Okay. And yeah, so what is, like, if you can speak about the career of being a magician, like what does how is the career of being a magician in India? Like, what does it has a scope, or how it is?
See, in India, it's really new and nascent right now.
Okay.
That it's on the rise, but I think it's been great in that we have we have such a rare art form, and I think a lot of other art forms like comedy and music and all of these things, well, they're all great, but there's nobody been doing magic at a very large commercial continuous extent
Okay.
as much as there is right now, because we have performers emerging from even tier 2 cities. So it's doing really well. If you're good at what you do and if you're able to communicate and know your audience, I think there's no limit to uh, the kind of shows, the kind of impact you can have as a performer, because there's so many new ideas and so many new things that people are coming up with, and you have to be really creative, because I think people are not fools. They've seen things like America's Got Talent and stuff like that, and they know what they're in store for.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think it's as a career, it's. I mean, you have to really have a love for it to really get to that point. But commercially, it's fantastic. Um, it does take some time to get to the point where you can make the kind of money that you want to make. But I think that's the learning curve with anything. I think that is there, but you have to be exceptionally good at what you do, and you have to also be able to market and and be out there.
Okay.
It's a cliche, but people say "Jo dikhta hai, wo bikta hai." So you have to be seen, even though sometimes it's not your natural state of being. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Okay. And what was the reason? Like, what you represented India at FISM or Germany? So, what was the reason
Yeah.
behind that? And what's FISM like? What they
So
are?
FISM is basically yeah. So FISM is basically it's basically like the Olympics of magic.
Okay.
It's a competition where people all over the world come and participate, and the judges are magicians themselves. It's called Federation of Magic Societies, and I mean that's the Indian equivalent, the English equivalent rather. And so yeah, so this happens about once in like once in say about 4 years. And yeah, so the idea was to just go ahead and see the kind of magic there is out there, because when you're sitting at home or when you're practicing in India around magicians you're familiar with, you're only used to seeing one kind of art.
Yeah.
But when you go out there, when you expose yourself to the world, as you mentioned, you have as well, you understand that there's so much out there that you have not thought or considered. So
Yeah.
more than wanting to represent India, which I think is something that I always wanted to do in my scheme of work, I also wanted to learn what's being talked about, what are people thinking about out there. So yeah.
Okay, wonderful. And what are the pros and cons of the industry of being a magician? Like, what are the dark sides? More than better, like better with the good side, we see it's enjoyable. People love it. It mind blows people. But what are the dark sides of that?
Uh, the dark sides are just that, I mean, you're told that doing magic gets you to meet really amazing women sometimes, but that doesn't happen. I'm kidding, I'm kidding. That's not the case. I think with magic, the only the good parts first. Let's get to the good parts.
Yeah.
Is that you do something that people love to watch,
Yeah.
and it's instantly gratifying. Um, it's weird. It's out of the ordinary, and at some level, it opens doors in people's minds that get them to be the best versions of themselves.
Yeah.
Because in a way, you are like, as we grow up in life, we have certain file folders. When we're kids, we have nothing, right? We have no perception of the world, so everything will surprise us. If I show you this pen, the color of this pen would surprise you. If I made you think about a certain idea, that idea would, like, you get lost in it. So we have no framework of these things. Now, as we grow older, we develop file folders, which make our control on reality, uh, which strengthen our control on reality and the way we see the world.
Yeah.
So we tend to look at everything in terms of boxes. We compartmentalize everything. This is red. This is black. This is gray. This is purple. This is this. This is fat. This is thin. This is black. This is white. There's so many different perceptions, right? And what that does is, at some level in our minds, it turns our innate creative wonder off, which we have, and which is where all the great ideas come from.
Yeah.
Everything is predictable. With magic, you are jarring that entire thinking. You are basically giving people something else to think about that makes them want to question reality.
Yeah.
And there are two kinds of people. One who will never be comfortable in this, and well, we shouldn't care about those people because they are not comfortable with these things in general. They need to understand that a little deeply. And the second is the kind of people who love it, and who absolutely love the process of not knowing something. So in that sense, it's amazing because magic has a lot of psychological benefits, in that if somebody sees a good piece of magic and if they feel good about it, they're going to really take in the experience and be open to newer things in life at a very subconscious level.
Okay.
But there have been studies that have proven time and time again that surprise and suspense will actually get people to open up, relax, and really enjoy the process of not knowing things in life. So that's one of the things. So I think the only con can be, it's a lonely job sometimes.
Okay.
So when you get back home, say after a gig, it's like, there's a lot of noise around you, and a lot of people reacting, and then there's a lot of buzz, like this buzz, and then you come home and there's nothing, silence.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So I think you kind of, like, when you're performing regularly, you kind of get into the zone where you don't like all the traveling and all the going to places, although you appreciate it. But at some point, you need to balance out. I think the only thing that I want to say is balance between personal and professional. And so as long as, because our job is, like, it's very people oriented. And if you're an empath, like, if you pick up on people's energies and emotions, like I do sometimes, so you need a lot of time to recharge and to come back stronger, because you are just trying to read their minds, and you're in a very personal space.
Yeah.
So you have to balance it out so that you can grow as a person, and at the same time help other people enjoy your work as well. So it's a
Okay.
little bit of both.
Yeah. Okay. Wonderful. And what are your major learnings from this journey of the career, the being a magician? I think it's pretty much a unique kind of career, a different kind of career. What has been a major learning for you by this, following your path to magician, being a magician, and following this career? What are the major learnings?
So first, I think it's helped me understand people a lot better because it's a very people-oriented job.
Yeah.
You're always around people, and you learn how to talk to people
Okay.
at a very deeper level. Like a lot of times, you realize that people, when they're talking to each other, there's this perception of small talk, but actually there is no small talk if you think about it. If you really wish to get to know somebody, even if you are small talking,
Okay.
your intention, you have an intent, you want to know them. And
Yeah.
as people, I think, and as artists or as whatever we are, I think there's two ways of looking at life. One is I need to network with people.
Okay.
It means I create a network based on barter, give and take. I give content, I take attention, and it's just that we perpetuate that cycle of give and take through all. I mean, it's just something that we don't have to think about now. This is how the world works, and this is how it's going to be. For me, I think I have that's extremely draining. Its purpose is, I mean, it's pointless to me.
Okay.
I think at the end of the day, we should. I mean, the way I look at business or the way I look at life is I don't want to form transactional relationships, but I want to make transformational relationships, which means if I'm out and if I'm performing for you and if you hired me to do a gig, I won't just do the gig and leave. I will talk to you because I genuinely care about understanding where you come from, what are your worldviews, why did you choose to hire me, um, what are your views on life like. I am that kind of person. So I think I would like to, if anything, give people a moment apart from magic in terms of just attention or care or anything that makes them think we can't remember the last time we met somebody like this, like somebody who was so much fun to be around or made us feel special. And I think that's not something that I do because it's good for work or business. It's just something that I enjoy doing. So doing magic, I think I've realized that I appreciate these things. Can be a conversation with someone, can be making somebody feel like they're the star for a moment. Not everything is about us, and I think that's one of the biggest learnings I've had, and that's helped me open my mind and my awareness to so many new ideas and situations. We've spoken about some of these before the podcast, but yeah, I think it's not always about you; it's about the people. So best to serve them without any expectations, and it'll do you well on different levels. You learn a lot of things in the process.
Okay, and for being in this career, what are the things you require? Like not in such of talent or money or fame or something,
Yeah.
but in the sense of mentally, like what does it require? Does it require us to be focused on your controlling your mind, being focused, or being into some kind of spirituality or kind of something, some kind of things you require? What kind of things do you require to be into this career? What are the things?
Yeah, so I think the first thing you mentioned, yeah, all of those things, spirituality and all of those things, yeah, I mean, that helps in any field because that's who we are. But I think when it comes to magic as a career, I think first you have to have a liking for it beyond just knowing how a trick is done.
Okay.
A lot of people think that they can be magicians just because they know or they have learned a secret, but that means nothing, honestly.
Okay.
It's just like any other art form. Like you may know how you can know how Picasso paints, but you can't paint it like him.
Yeah.
Which makes it
Unique.
which makes it it's a game changer, right?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, so I think the first thing to really understand is, do you love it to a point where you're willing to go through the unbelievable amount of lead time people put into practice it, or to create something of your own?
Okay.
And then, do you care about showing it to the world just because you want to look great, or you want to make people feel awesome? So, if you want to make people feel awesome about themselves and their lives and what you do,
Okay.
then I think I think that desire, that drive, can never lead you off course. And I think you will always find your footing, even in the most dire circumstances. But I think otherwise, um, yeah, I think it's just those two things. You have to like really want to, love to do it, and then all of those things. As far as the mentalism and all those things are concerned, those things can be learned as well,
Okay.
and you just need to have a burning desire to want to learn them and want to amaze people on many different levels. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So what would be uh, advice to people who want to get into an art form or become an artist?
Uh, I think knowing that art is such a thing that it's like you create something,
Okay.
and then you you're giving the right for it to be liked to people.
Okay.
So I think anybody getting into arts should really care about it to a
Okay.
great extent, but
Okay.
at the same time, not care about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a paradox. You have to hold two very polarizing thoughts at the same time. But to keep it simple, I think you have to obviously love it, of course, and to also realize that you can get very protective about it because it's something you create. Um, it's not something that's happening because of any business reasons.
Okay.
So nurture it as much as you can and spend a lot of time with it. And after a point, I think you will realize that it's time to show this to the world and keep your own securities and egos aside. And even if it's not on a full time basis, I think doing it part time is even better for anybody who's listening because uh, there's so much you can really learn from
Okay.
reflecting on your own experience, and also the pressure's off then. So don't necessarily quit a job to pursue an art or a career that you wish.
Mm-hmm.
Try and do it alongside, which is what I did. And then over time, you'll realize that it's paying much more than what you're doing. And if not, that's okay too. And then you can course correct. You can quit your job in that case. Or if you still like both of them, you don't have to. I have a friend who has represented India on many different platforms,
Mm-hmm.
and he's out there. He's doing a great job, and he still kept his 9 to 5 job intact, which is amazing. So the answer is always changing, and it's a very personal thing. So just see what works best for you. You're the best judge to that.
Yeah. True. So yeah, like last question. Then I have another round. It's just a question. Like, what are your what has been your failures? Like, what did you have failures? Did you learn? Did you have some difficulties or problems? And if yes, what did you learn from them?
Yes, I did have failures. Like I mentioned, the first time I performed for people, my hands were trembling. I dropped all my props down, and it was bad. It was bad. But then I think there's some amount of self love that you come across when you realize you're not perfect and nobody is as well.
Yeah.
And it's okay to go wrong now and then. It's okay to be somebody who doesn't know. It's okay to be a beginner. And if somebody's going to judge you, that's not your problem because there's so much in life to uncover just apart from what people think of you. That's just a tiny part of an old world problem. Right now, I don't think it should be one. And another thing is, uh, I have had to slog in situations. I mean, I've had to travel 6 hours by car to venues and perform for 45 minutes
Okay.
and then come back and for like peanuts. And now because I'm vegan, I like that too because peanuts are
Yeah.
cool. So, so yeah, I mean, it's been more of a failure in the sense that it's I won't call it a failure, but I think it's been a struggle.
Okay.
And that's what that struggle has taught me is that when you get the kind of work that you really love doing for the people that really connect with you, I don't think there's anybody who can live those moments more fully than me. Because when I'm performing in that case, I inhabit the moment and I make sure that every single person has a great time when they're around me and when I'm performing for them.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's truly the one thing that I value most is that when I get the kind of breaks and opportunities that I do, I give it my 200%, and that always works out well for everyone. For the people who hire me, for the people who want to hire me going forward, because they are able to pass that fun on to new people,
Okay.
and I'm able to also make a good living for myself while also making a lot of people happy in the process. So there's no substitute to that.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you very much. Last five questions, quick questions. So,
Yeah,
what was the best advice you received from someone? A best advice you received?
that's a hard one. So much good advice. Maybe I can think about that one and you give me another question.
Okay.
Is that the last question?
No, I have four questions.
Um,
It's just the quick questions. As I said, we have five questions.
shoot them out. I
Yeah,
mean, I'll think of that while my subconscious will.
sure, no problem. And what has been your worst advice?
Worst advice. Worst advice. I don't think I've got any wrong advice, but I think sometimes people will just look at you and say, "Oh, you're a magician, so this is what you do full time," with
Okay.
the intent of like, seriously. And until they see something, in which case they're like, "Wow, this is what you do full time." So
Yeah.
it's a distinction, but I think just anybody telling you that you can't do it because nobody's done it before will be
Yeah.
a really crappy advice, because why should anybody take it? And all these advices just come from people who cannot do it themselves.
Yeah.
So there's nothing that I think we cannot do.
Okay. Yeah.
So yeah.
So next question. What would be an advice to any your 18-year-old self?
Sorry,
What would be an advice to your 18-year-old self?
18-year-old self.
Yeah.
Um, uh, that's a hard one. I think I would just say, don't worry about what people think so much,
Okay.
because life is a lot more groovy and fun. Yeah.
Okay. Next question. How are you being affected? I had a different question, but I think this is more important to know. How are you affected by all the problems coming together to we as humans, like the virus, the cyclone, everything? How are you being affected by that?
Uh, I have, yeah, I mean, there's no work that's happening, of course, right now. So I'm technically not performing live
Okay.
shows one on one.
Mhm.
I'm doing a lot of shows on Zoom,
Okay.
which is a good thing.
Hmm.
But I don't think I'm actually affected at a deeper level, because every day for me right now is time to really explore and reflect. And I'm not getting bored of it anytime soon. I'm constantly trying to review who I am and what I want
Okay.
as a person, and this too shall pass. But yeah, I think it's affected me in that every morning I wake up, I'm constantly checking in on my intentions. And initially, I never did that as much as I am now. And there's a lot of time for personal growth as well right now. So, yeah, I think that's how I'm spending a lot of my time rather than worrying about why is this happening to me or
Yeah.
why is this happening to us, stuff
Yeah.
like that. I think it's working well for me.
Okay.
Another
What?
question.
Yeah. Let's come to the first question. What was the best advice you received?
The best advice I received was there's two. The first one was a quote. Someone wise once told me this. He said, "If you're not living on the edge, you are taking up too much space.
Okay.
So don't be afraid to um, do something that's risky, and it's okay. It's okay even if it doesn't work out. As long as you love it, it doesn't have to make sense to other people. And take the risk, and if you can, and try and make it happen." And the second thing, I think it would be just, yeah, it's a cliche, but it's so deep because not a lot of people get it. But just understand that when you love yourself and you love your work, um, you become a magnet for everything
Mm-hmm.
in the universe that you want. So yeah, do that. Do more of
Okay.
that.
Wonderful. And the last question, what would be like? It's an open question. You can give a message to anybody or advice, or they connect with you or anything you wish to give, like a message or an advice or an where they can connect with you. Everything,
Okay.
like whatever you wish to.
Okay. I'm going to take a few seconds to do some shameless promotion now.
Okay.
So, since the lockdown has been on, I have been working with this NGO called Animals Matter to Me, which is basically looking after, treating, rehabilitating animals that are going through a hard time amid the virus, and now even more so because of the rains. They live and thrive on human connection in general. Now, because nobody's out there, they're not getting their basic needs met like food, shelter, and basic the bare basic treatments. So this NGO right now, even though there is a cyclone over here, they are on the field. They have their cars out there. They're feeding, treating, rehabilitating animals. So I am working on doing shows, live shows for people on Zoom in exchange of a tiny contribution to this NGO.
Okay.
So if anybody is watching this, firstly, I'd like to say thanks for sticking around. And if this message resonates with you, please go ahead and donate to the website to the NGO. You can find it on magicfortheanimals.com. Just go there, make a tiny donation, and then DM me on Instagram. My handle is @Chirag Jetwani.
Yeah.
It ends with an NEY. And yeah, anything that I would like to tell you is that, yeah, I mean, just try and be your best self every day. Some days will be harder, but I
Yeah.
think that's how you're connected to everything that you want in life. Either you will come across that event, or that event will come across you,
Yeah.
and they're both going to happen. So be well, and thank you so much for doing this amazing podcast with me.
It's a
Um,
pleasure to have you. Yeah. So yeah,
Thank you so much.
it brings it to an end. Thank you very much for being here. It was amazing having you. Hope you enjoyed it too. And thank you for those amazing tricks and amazing kind of a small illusionist and magic you did and trick you did with us. Thank you very much for that.
Thank you so much, Lakshit. All the best.